Okay, boys, here we go once again. Dan Zahner here with Larry Yatch, telling the story of his entry into the SEALs, his SEAL career, and how he started his company, SEAL Team Leaders, and the impact that we get to have on all of our awesome people that we get to serve. So thanks again, Larry, for taking the time. It's always great to hear your stories. I'm so excited for this one, especially being a military history nut. So it's just super honored for me to be able to hear it directly from you, all the amazing things that you went through and did in creating history as a SEAL.
That's why I love what we do as a company, is being able to give people the opportunity to learn these principles of high performance as a team, to be able to create the feeling that I felt walking into India platoon space in the spring of 1999, right? That feeling I want everyone to feel. For sure.
So you walk in there, and then, as we know from history, you got about 2 years until things get really interesting in your area of responsibility. So what were those first couple of years like?
It was very different. So very different than it is now, both in the structure of the team. So the structure of the teams changed in 2001. Prior to 2001, a team was responsible for a part of the world. And they were responsible for that part of the world 24/7, 365. So SEALs a team had to maintain a presence in a certain part of the world all the time. And the way they did that was by deploying 2 platoons every 6 months. And then those platoons would come back, and one platoon would go out and another platoon would come back. And so there's always one platoon in the space, one platoon ready to go, and then you'd have 4 platoons in training. And that cycle would happen every 2 years. So you would spend 6 months training, or 18 months training and 6 months deployed. And the team did everything. So the team controlled training, supplies, prepping you to deploy, and then once you deployed, the unit in that region would be responsible for you. So what was cool about that is you got very specific in a part of the world, right? We were responsible for the desert. The other thing is, what you're gonna get, right? You know what's going on. And for us, what was going on at the time was oil embargoes against Iraq, and those oil embargoes were set that Saddam could only export certain amounts of oil through normal channels. And what he was doing was smuggling oil out of Iraq on oil vessels and using that to subsidize buying weapons off the books, lowering the overall price of the oil, right? By being able to supplement oil by going out on these vessels. And it was against all the sanctions and all the stuff that was going on. So it was the responsibility of the SEALs and ultimately other units in the area. So the Marines, the Royal Marines were part of it, the Canadian Royal Marines, SBS, Special Boat Squadrons, and the Marines all had a hand in this effort to stop the flow of illegal oil out of Iraq. And that was the mission that we were preparing for. So it was pretty cool for us, based on the fact that we knew we were part of the ARG, the Amphibious Ready Group. So as a group of ships that deploy, we were assigned to that group of ships, and we knew where we were going and what we were doing. We were going to we were going to be on station there in the Northern Arabian Gulf to be able to stop the flow of oil out of Iraq. And it was a very interesting mission at this time, and it was going on. Like, we knew that it was going to happen, which was huge. We were the only platoon in the world at that point that was doing it. Only SEAL platoon in the world that was going to be doing anything.
So what was that like? Having them, your CO would say, okay, we've got such and such a boat that you've got to take, keep from getting to this point. What were those, planning discussions like, and then what was the feeling like of finally getting to go on a mission like that, those first ones?
It was cool to have clear purpose, right? So as a team, we had super clear purpose in all of the trainings. The training's harder than deployments, right? We lose more SEALs to injuries and even deaths in training than we do in combat unless we're in heavy combat, right? So there's I mean, it's got to be weekly, monthly SEALs being injured, and probably lose 1 or 2 a year to just training accidents, because we train full speed, and everything we do is dangerous.
Yeah.
Live ammunition. I've been shot at by we had it was a helicopter squadron, the minigunner. So he's shooting a belt-fed, electrically powered 7.62 6-barreled minigun that shoots like 800 rounds a minute. Mistook our platoon for the targets.
Oh man.
And stitched us with, I don't know, 1,300 rounds right in the middle of us. We had an A-10 drop a 5-inch rocket, shoot a 5-inch rocket 40 yards away from us, and the kill radius is 50 yards. Like,
yeah.
So we were doing spy roping in training, where they have a rope, it's like a 120-foot rope that has hooks on it. You connect it to a harness, and they pull you off the roof of a building. So you're dangling underneath this helicopter as it flies to somewhere, and then puts you on the ground, and you can climb in. It's a way to extract in bad environments. We were doing training in Monterey where they pulled us off, and the pilot mistook actual ground level for mean sea level. So he was 200 feet lower than he thought, and he flew us into a tree at the bottom of a rope at 60, 70 knots. I mean, that's all of those things occurred before we deployed to go fight. I mean, I fell off in the middle of a simulated firefight with live ammunition. I fell off a 15-foot cliff with a M60 machine gun and full rounds in the middle of the night, not seeing it. Tore my shoulder out of the socket. So, like, training's really hard, right? And really bad, but to have clear purpose as to why we're not just training. That's why SEAL Team 3 trained so hard, because they knew, like, you're going to go and you're going to deploy, and you could be in a gunfight. Like, you could be in a big fight. And so that was the coolest part.
And knowing the only kinds of gunfights they're going to send you to are the worst gunfights imaginable.
I've never been in a good one. Just so, like, there's never been a nice one. So pretty much every time that a round's coming at you, it's the worst. Just so we're clear, they're all qualified as not good from my experience, my limited experience with gunfights.